Most variable rate mortgage holders will see about a $15 increase for every $100,000 that they've borrowed.
So essentially the mindset of the buyer going in 2023 was they could afford a property in today's market with a higher interest rate, but a lower purchase price.
While the crunch of the higher interest rate can definitely feel overwhelming, they have that peace of mind knowing that they still have equity in their home and that the market here is still strong.
Hey everyone, it's Alex Hughes and Ricky Lee Jewell with the North Pacific Homes Group here in Victoria, and we'd like to welcome you to our June monthly market update video with a special talk about today's increase.
The Bank of Canada did announce a 0.25% increase, bringing the policy rate up to 5%, which is actually the highest it's been in 22 years. The Bank of Canada did hold the policy rate at 4.5% during the March and April announcements, but we had an increase in June of 0.25%, and many economists did predict that the July announcement would bring the rate up to 5%. Now, this was following the most aggressive interest rate increases, with 8 consecutive increases starting March of last year up to January of this year. Generally speaking, because the higher interest rates do result in a higher cost of borrowing for buyers, you would suspect to see prices decrease. And last year we did notice less market activity. However, because there are so many variables that impact the real estate market and there is a significant lack of supply in Victoria, coupled with the high desirability of a location to live, we aren't seeing prices drop. We'll go into that a little bit further in this video as we talk about where we're sitting midway through the year in the market.
So like Ricky Lee had touched on, when all these interest rates start to come through kind of mid of last year is when they really started to take hold, because although they were announced in March, a lot of buyers of course have their pre-approvals and their rate holds in place. So it takes a little bit of time for these policy increases to show their effect. And middle of last year, we really saw things start to slow down. At this time last year, and I'll touch more about this as we get into the more stats side of things, but this time last year we had 600 properties sold, where this year in June we're at 705. So things did take a turn. It slowed down as we got into the end of 2022, and it was a perfect storm of multiple different reasons. We had these interest rate increases coupled with coming off a very intense seller's market, and buyers just simply had fatigue. So things slowed down. Buyers, when the increases came in, they simply couldn't afford where the prices were at, and sellers still had the expectation that when they would list their property, they would get into multiple offers. So we were kind of pretty much at a stalemate. Now, at the beginning of 2023, as I've touched on in a couple of videos, we saw an increase in demand coming back together. So we did actually see a drop in pricing of about 13% since the end of 2022. And buyers came back into force. And once we heard that there would be a couple of holds throughout the interest rate increases, buyers got a little bit more comfortable and more confident coming back to the market. For the last 4 months consecutively, we've seen some increases in our benchmark house prices on both the condo and the single family detached market. So essentially, when we had this cooling off period, buyers were able to take some time, regroup themselves, as we were in a significantly less competitive market. So essentially the mindset of a buyer going in 2023 was they could afford a property in today's market with a higher interest rate, but a lower purchase price. When they go to refinance, they would actually get that property for a lower interest rate, which of course would bring their mortgage payment down.
Most variable rate mortgage holders will see about a $15 increase for every $100,000 that they've borrowed. It is good news that the market hasn't slowed considerably and prices haven't dropped, because for many, while the crunch of the higher interest rates can definitely feel overwhelming, they have that peace of mind knowing that they still have equity in their home and that the market here is still strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Now get into a couple of stats of what's been going on. So as I mentioned, we had 705 properties sold here in June 2023, which was less than last month at 775. Again, we're following back into that seasonal decline for the summer, but significantly more what we had last year at 612. Active listings were starting to creep up. So right now we're at just over 2,300. Last month we were at 2,189. And last year, we're just over 2,000. And again, we're actually starting to see some of these benchmark prices increase as well. So for condos, 573,800, up from 569,300, but less than where we were last year, like I had mentioned, at 615,200. And for single family detached, we're sitting at 1.310,100, which is up from 1.297,600, but of course down from where we were last year at just over 1.4 million.
Ending this video off, if you are thinking about making a move in today's market as a homeowner, it's always a good idea to get an updated home equity check so that you have an idea of what's going on, because we are seeing considerable differences even neighborhood to neighborhood. Because inventory is so low right now, if you live in a neighborhood where there's not a lot available, that will impact your price as well. And for people looking to buy, this is a great time to connect with a mortgage specialist and see what the best option for you is. We're seeing a lot of 3-year fixed recommendation. It really depends on your situation. And although we have experienced this interest rate increase, we have a couple more announcements left in the year. And then most economists are predicting that within the next 2 years, rates are going to come back down.
Yeah, and that's everything we have for you today. Please like this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe, as it really goes a long way. And never hesitate to reach out should you have any questions. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.